Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to Germany. I'm just outside of Hanover with VW to take a look at their brand new car, the Tayron. I always like looking at new cars. This car doesn't world premiere for a few weeks, so we're getting a very exclusive early look. There is much to discuss about this car, so let's get into it. Now, I am in a beautiful part of the world today, and we're at a kind of workshop all day with lots of media and lots of cars parked in lots of different locations. And some of them are outside with lovely backdrops. But these events are always about trying to get access to a car. And this one was just sat here, nobody was around, and I thought, I'm going to borrow that one. And I love this color, this deep metallic purple. But I want to start off with the name, because there's a bit of a debate going on here exactly how to pronounce the name, because in English you would probably read that and say Tayron, but it's actually Tayron. And I guess it's a little bit like Porsche Taycan. The T-A-Y is Thai in German. So this is the Tayron. Where does it sit in the VW lineup of cars? Well, it sits in between the Tiguan and the Touareg. So it's that kind of in between, it's between the mid-size SUV and the really big one. So it's an interesting car. It has an option of either 5-seat or 7-seat configuration. That is depending on the engine choice though, because there are 7 different engine choices that we need to talk about, but you will be pleased to know none of them are battery electric, and one of them's a diesel. So there's lots to talk about. So in fact, why don't we start off by talking about what those engine options are. Whether all 7 come to the UK at this moment in time, I'm not entirely sure, but let's talk about them anyway. The engine lineup starts with a 1.5 litre mild hybrid with 150 PS. There are 2 2-litre turbo petrol engines producing 204 PS and 265 PS, both with the 4-motion all-wheel drive system. There are 2 2-litre turbo diesel engines, a front-wheel drive with 150 PS, and a 4-motion with 193 PS. Finally, there are 2 plug-in hybrids with either 204 or 272 PS, and both have the 4-motion all-wheel drive system. The plug-in hybrid has a 6-speed DSG gearbox, with all the other options having a 7-speed DSG. Now, another reason why I opted to film with this car inside is because of the lighting. You get to see the lighting effects both on the front and the rear of the car. It's a very clean front end of the car. You've got a really nice sleek headlight design, and then there's this LED light strip that runs all the way along the front of the car, and an illuminated VW badge at the front, which looks really striking. And I reckon at night time, when this car comes up behind someone and you look at it in the rearview mirror, it's going to look really, really distinctive. The other thing is, when I came to the Tiguan first launch and first saw the car, we had presentations on the HD matrix lights that these now have also, and they are amazing bits of kit. 20,000 individual lighting pixels in each headlamp, and that allows the lighting to do all kinds of clever things, from blocking out cars coming the other way to creating shapes on the road so you can see the width of the car. It's a very, very clever system indeed, and it's great to see that it's on Tayron as well. But I think front-end styling, clean, and I'm loving the light design as well. There are 3 trim levels for the Tayron, starting with Tayron Life, then comes Tayron Elegance, the elegant top of the range version, and finally there is Tayron R-Line, the dynamic top of the range version. There's a colour palette of 9 colours, with my favourite being the ultraviolet metallic on the car I'm filming with. Okay, let's have a look at rear styling and practicality. So just as we had at the front with the white LED light bar going across the front of the bonnet, we've got a similar thing going on at the rear. I really like the tail light design, but then we've got this red LED strip running across, and an illuminated red VW sign, which I just think looks really, really cool. For sure, you're only going to see it in low light or nighttime conditions, but thumbs up from me nonetheless. I like the little spoiler on top of the window glass here. But if we open up the boot and just talk about practicality, this is a 5-seat variant. So with the rear seats up, you've got a total boot space of 850 litres, which is huge. If you look at the 7-seat variant and you have the third row of seats up, that boot space shrinks down to about 345 litres, which is still reasonable. I guess if you were going away and you had occupants in the third row of seats, you'd probably need to go for a roof box or something like that to carry the extra luggage. If you drop all the seats completely, you've got a flat floor and just over 2,000 litres of payload capacity. So it's a big old bus in here. And then last thing I really like, you've got a little underfloor storage here for things like your parcel shelf. Now, that's not a VW specific thing, but it's such a neat little feature. Whenever I get a car, normally, because we've got the dogs, the parcel shelf gets taken out and put in the shed. Whereas if I can carry it with me, there are times when you want to park the car up and you might want to have something in the boot and you might want that extra security that a parcel shelf gives to stop people being able to look inside. And then you've also got room for your charge cables, because this particular car is a plug-in hybrid, and it's the plug-in hybrid that you can't have the rear seats. And the reason for that is the battery has to go somewhere. So if you want a 7-seat one, you have to opt for the engine options that aren't plug-in hybrid, basically. The Tayron is 4.77 metres long with a wheelbase of 2.79 metres. It is 1.66 metres high and 1.85 metres wide. Oh wow, this has got loads of room in it. Because you might be thinking, okay, well, it sits between Tiguan and Touareg. Tiguan is a kind of mid-sized car, and it is compromised in the rear passenger comfort. This 5-seater has a huge amount of legroom. I'm a tall chap. I'm 6'3". I've got a 34-inch, well, 35-inch inside leg. So for me to sit comfortably in a car is really difficult. I often get comments that because my legs, sometimes you might see that angle of my legs sticking up because I've got a very long lower part of my leg. Not in this car. Absolutely lovely. I've got window blinds to make it look lovely. This is the elegant spec, so it's got some really nice contrast colours. Some of the cars that are here are very kind of dark and all black interior. I really like this contrasted paler colours. I've got 7-zone climate control, heated seats in the rear, lots of charge points, everything I need. But this is a 5-seater. Now, I think we need to go and find a 7-seater, and I need to try and get in the back to see just how much space there is in that third row of seats. So I found a 7-seat one, and I think you need to prepare yourself for some old man noises. So I've dropped these seats forward just so that you can kind of see me getting in. There's a little latch at the back here. You push the seat forward and then that gives you some ingress here. And it is a case of kind of climbing in. There we go, old man noise. And then, I need to put that up, otherwise it's sticking in my back. That's better, and then I can pull this back, but now that isn't actually too bad. If I pull these back again to kind of lock myself in, it's not too bad in here in terms of space. These seats are quite low to the floor, so it means that the angle of my legs, my seat bones are kind of like that, so I think it'll probably be, after half an hour or so, you're going to be getting a numb bum. But it's not too bad in here. And then if the seats, challenge is, when the seats are like this, the middle row of seats, you've got, well, basically if you had legs, you'd be stuffed. You wouldn't be able to basically sit in here. So I think, I don't know how I can get this back anymore. Yeah, I think, I wonder if I can just pull that one back. No, that's that one. There we go. Now then, what that means, oh, yeah. So if you have normal legroom in that side, yeah, it's a good emergency seat. But I guess the format of the car, the size of the car, you have to have a bit of a compromise somewhere. Yeah, it's not very big in here, basically. Getting out's going to be fun, though. Oh, we got that. Oh, give myself a hernia. Whew. Tayron uses a 6th generation 4-motion coupling for transmitting power to the rear axle. Under normal driving conditions, only the front axle of the Tayron is powered. This saves fuel. The rear axle is only integrated into the Tayron's drive system in the event of a higher load requirement or when there's a risk of a wheel losing grip. However, the all-wheel drive can also be activated manually by the driver experience control. Tayron has the latest generation of adaptive chassis control as an option called DCC Pro. This electronic active damping control reacts continuously to the road conditions and driving situation and takes into account parameters such as steering, braking and acceleration. The ideal damping is calculated for each wheel and is adjusted via the shock absorbers. The driver has the option of individually adjusting the DCC Pro system to settings ranging from very comfortable to very sporty. Tayron can tow up to 2.4 tons. As soon as a trailer is connected, the additional trailer driving profile is automatically activated. The intelligent 4-motion coupling automatically distributes power between the front and rear axles in the optimum way for trailer operation. Slightly different angle for me to film the interior of the car. Now, in these events where it's a static display, it's always very difficult to get your head around what the car's going to be like in terms of driving position and comfort and just the general tech inside. However, that infotainment system is the same as I experienced on the new Tiguan, and it is night and day better than the previous systems used by VW. It's so much better, and it's got technology in it like Chat GPT, if that's your thing. It's not mine, but I kind of understand the drivers behind it. And then just in terms of space, there's a nice feeling of space. The material choice is really nice. You've got a dual mat for charging your phone. You've got this little wheel here that you can use to not only do things like the volume control, but it can do things, if you just swipe your finger across it, it does various functions and allows you to change the moods and the lighting and those types of things. The climate control buttons are still, I'm not going to quite call them haptics, but you can slide your finger across them or just touch them. You get used to that quite quickly. And then this main screen, it is big, and I know a lot of people think it maybe doesn't sit that comfortably within that dash. But actually, as a driver, it gives you all the information that you need. We drove over here in the new Golf 8.5. It's got the same infotainment system in it, and once you get your head around it, it's really, really, really good. And then I think with the pan roof and the lighting and the high-end stereo, it's a really pleasant place to sit, and I can't wait to drive this car and do some long journeys. But yeah, the upfront comfort, the material choice, the layout and the simplicity of the layout, I like a great deal. But yeah, not too bad at all. And you can even change how much space you've got for your drinks bottles. I love little things like that. A couple of little holders in there too. Yeah, it's good. Now, interestingly, this car comes with 4 different wheel size options, from 17-inch all the way up to 20-inch that we've got on this car. And all I would say is, if you take a step back and look from the side, these 20s look quite small. Heaven knows what 17s would look like on this car. And I know you're going to get a bigger sidewall, so a little bit more ride comfort, but 20s for the win every day. So, final thoughts after my first look at the new VW Tayron. I really like it, actually. I like the styling, and I guess if you are in the market for a Tiguan, but that's just not quite big enough, and I guess that's probably more aimed at people with a growing family or the requirement to carry stuff around. And you don't want to go quite as big as Touareg, that's exactly where this car sits. I like the fact there's so much choice. I like the fact that there's 5-seat and 7-seat options for some people. I'm sure the people or the target audience that's going to be really, really upset is somebody who wants to buy a plug-in hybrid and needs 7 seats, because you can't have that. I love the fact that there's so much engine choice, and I can't wait to experience those. I think for me, I'd always be the more performance-oriented, probably the kind of the higher output petrol engine with the 4Motion 4-wheel drive system. I would love to have a go in one of those. And I think also the plug-in hybrid systems that VW do, because they've got that 100 kilometers of pure EV running, it just opens up the car to be so much more usable. Styling-wise, I like it. I love this color. This color, every now and again you go to a car launch and you see a car in a color. I love purple cars anyway, but it's a deep purple metallic, and I just think it looks spectacular. I prefer the lighter interior than some of the darker cars here as well. But put in the comments below, what do you think of the new Tayron? Hopefully, I'll be one of the journalists invited to drive it in the new year when press drives happen, and then we'll see it coming to market in 2025. But yeah, good car. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.